Hi, I'm Lauren Wilson, a realtor with App Properties. Born and raised right here in Central Indiana and a Hoosier through and through. Selling your home is a massive undertaking, and I completely understand what that is. That's why when you work with me, we put a great plan together to make sure that when your home comes to the market, it is in the best light possible. Again, I'm Lauren Wilson, 317-590-2290. 317-590-2290. Let's put a plan together and get your home sold.
Right now, everything's expensive. That includes things you need around the house. If your water heater, water softener, or well pump goes out, or even if your toilet stops working, you could be looking at a major expense. Don't let your next call to a plumber break the bank. Call John at Black Sheep Plumbing. John is a Hoosier lifer who takes pride in and stands behind his work. That's why all basic services and repairs with Black Sheep Plumbing come with a 2-year parts and labor guarantee, with water heaters having a 6-year parts and tank guarantee. Call or text Black Sheep Plumbing for all your needs today and speak directly with John, the owner. 765-315-7558. That's Black Sheep Plumbing at 765-315-7558.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Welcome back, Rob Kendall Show. Don't forget the website, robkendallshow.com. Joined by one of the best in the business. You know her from the Indiana Capital Chronicle, the great Niki Kelly. Hello.
Hello.
So many good stories to get to this week. Let's start with, there's all this drama now around local income tax and the property tax bill. And you guys had a great deep dive on this, how in the property tax bill, they had totally changed around how local income tax worked. Some of us who had been in local government said, that seems like a complete disaster. They said, no, it'll be fine. Now they've delayed it several times. Now they're asking the cities and towns and counties to solve it for them. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, they definitely pushed back some effective dates. They did make a small change to, they had this weird thing where someone would have to readopt their income taxes every year. And of course, the bond market, which sells bonds for a project based on revenue, said, whoa. So they did make it like, let's say they didn't readopt something.
Right.
What remains on is enough to pay the bonds. But yeah, they're basically trying to come up with a task force to look more closely at how the local income tax will work. And
should they have done this before they voted on it? Like, this is my thing, because I said at the time, and they ignore me in the order I'm received, there's so many bad things about this bill. If you want to tinker with the local income tax, okay, but just throwing it into a property tax bill without any debate or discussion seemed like a very bad idea.
They've sort of been chatting about the local income tax on the periphery for a while, and I think they saw that as an opportunity to move forward on some things. But obviously, local units have been able to explain to them that it's much more complicated. They don't have the GIS systems to be as good as lawmakers had hoped, so they've pushed it back a little longer.
One of the things that nobody will address, and I think this is fascinating, is they've given the cities and towns the ability to do the income tax, which they didn't before. Now, if you're county, and I'm trying to explain this to our audience in a way that makes sense, and you're the guru on all this, so if I've screwed it up, let me know. There's a rate, right? Like the max a county could levy income tax right now. They claim they're lowering that rate, which they are, but they're letting cities and towns level income tax who hadn't before. So if your county didn't have a high income tax, then your income tax is going to go up, potentially, if the cities and towns do it.
Yeah, it could potentially, yeah. I mean, some cities were very upset because they were losing their property tax revenue, and they would say, oh, well, you can raise your local income tax. And they would say, well, no, I can't, because our county commissioners won't do that, or our county council won't do that. So they wanted to be able to give them some autonomy in raising the local income tax at the city level.
So now we're at 2029 before they can do whatever. Do you get the semblance that there's going to be some sort of major, because now they're saying they're going to debate it again. You guys had the big article about it. Do you get the semblance we're done here, or are we going to see more major changes too? Because it could potentially be a lot of money for people.
We're going to see more, definitely. And they're still, we'll be in like 2028, still trying to figure out what we did in 2025.
Bingo. All right. Niki Kelly from the Capital Chronicle is our guest. The IURC, they're on a listening tour now. We discussed this yesterday on the show. I said, here's my comments because I can't go to the listening tour. My bill is too damn high. Like, what are they going to get out of this other than people coming to say our bills are too darn high?
Yeah, I mean, and they literally said they want people to bring them their bill to show them. As we speak right now, they've got some of the big five investor-owned utilities trying to justify their rates. I think most of this is really the administration just using the bully pulpit they have to call attention to the high rates and to sort of, put the utilities on defense instead of offense, which they've been on offense for, a decade.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I'm offended by their offense every time. Do lawmakers get it? Because sometimes I feel like they're just living in a bubble on all of this. And you guys cover the General Assembly unlike anybody else. Are they finally starting to understand what a crisis point some people are at as it relates to utilities?
Yeah, I think last year especially, there was some data that, kept showing in I think it was 1 year, there was like a 17% jump on average. And I do think this year they seem to really start to understand that these utility prices have reached kind of crisis level, especially for a state that the utility prices used to be one of the main attractions.
Yeah.
And they might disagree on what the reason is, but I do think that everyone's pretty much on board now as it's a major problem.
How are they squaring internally the data center stuff? Because it's like they keep approving these data centers, which, okay, but we're a state that, like, electricity is a statewide issue, right? And Jacob Stewart from the Indy Star had a column on this the other day in which, okay, so you beat the data center, the Google data center in Indianapolis. They just go make the one in Monrovia bigger, and they're still using the same amount of electricity, and everybody's still paying for it. So, like, is the state, do you get any semblance that they're going to do anything related to these data centers at all?
I don't really. I mean, I think they're basically happy with the idea of, I think the Braun administration has been pushing that the data center groups have to bring their own electricity to the table, basically add electricity to the grid. And
do you
I think
understand how they do that? I'd
Yeah.
like to get into that game, adding electricity to the grid. I feel like there's money in that. Dude, how does that even
Well, it's not necessarily in the same place, but like, for instance, they could set up a huge solar field somewhere. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily in the same place,
Yeah.
but as long as they're putting as much on the grid as they're taking off, that's what they kind of consider.
Because I was like, how do you make electricity,
Mhm.
right? I'm an electricity user, not a maker. But so now we get into the fight then about the solar farms again.
I mean, it could be, that was one example, but
Right,
it can
right.
happen in many ways.
Niki Kelly from the Capital Chronicle is our guest. You guys had an interesting article. No raises again for state employees. Some people are
Yeah.
unhappy. I thought was it the budget director that you guys interviewed, Rainey?
Mm-hmm.
I thought his quote was interesting. He's like, well, there was no money appropriated. Sure, there's a bunch of extra money now, but no money was appropriated. We'll see you next year. What is going on with this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because state employees haven't gotten a raise in several years, right? And we're sitting on, I think it's supposed to be nearly $5 billion surplus by the end of the fiscal year or next fiscal year.
Am I going to get money back?
Probably not.
They used to have to give me money back.
Yeah, but it's only in odd years, and so
So they'll spend it.
correct. It's kind of like there's a process.
Right? I used to get money back when
We've had it happen twice, I think,
Yeah.
where you've gotten money back.
yeah, I've remembered that.
But yeah, so they just said, and what happened was we had that weird revenue forecast that scared everyone, so
Yes.
they chopped a bunch from the budget,
Right.
and that was right in the middle of Trump putting on all the tariffs initially, and then, 6 more months go by and the revenue's fine, but the budget doesn't reflect the revenue now. And
Right.
so
you had a column that I thought was interesting. Tell us about it. You have 2 sections on Indiana Capital Chronicle. You guys do a very fine job of delineating, here's the opinion, here's the news, about good government.
yeah.
Tell us about that. I think I always enjoy your opinion columns.
Well, it was for Sunshine Week, which is, public access, transparency, open government. And so I was at a meeting the other day and there was a citizen who pointed out, and we all know journalists file those APRA requests all the time, right? When
Public
we're trying
records
to, yep.
requests. Yeah.
But it reminded me that a lot of citizens use those laws too to hold their government accountable. Yeah. And so I went through, probably 50 cases that were appealed to the public access counselor to see what kind of things people are looking for, whether it be minutes of a meeting or an Amazon agreement, an NDA, things like that. One was a mayor's oath they took. I was like, hey, whatever. And
why would somebody not give that to them? Like, what's the holdup on this? What are you concerned about? What did you say in your oath that means I'm not going to give that to you?
But what I found is they do lose the arguments a lot, right? Because the law is pretty explicitly written and a little more difficult to understand. But, sometimes they win. And I was just kind of giving them applause for holding police accountable and cities and towns and states. And
one of the things I would do in a bizarre world where I become the governor. And did you see her eyes? They were like, oh my gosh, don't let that happen. I would beef up the public access counselor office. Like, they've gutted that to where, is there even an employee anymore? I know you guys wrote about that a while ago.
They had left. I think they did replace the part-time employee. And obviously they have the access counselor.
Right. But that's a very involved thing when somebody asks you, did the local governments break the law, violate the law, run afoul of the law? I would put a whole bunch of employees in there, and I think that's horrible for transparency. We don't have a more robust public access counselor.
Lawmakers kind of went the other way.
Yes, they did, didn't they?
Years ago,
somebody got mad.
They didn't really like some of the opinions that were coming out of the public access counselor, so they took some teeth away from that person. They also made it so that the governor can fire them at any time before they served a specific term and were insulated from basically retribution if they issue an opinion.
I think I'm going to run on that if I run. I'm going to beef up the public access counselor.
There you go.
I'm going to get all the journalists to vote for me. It'll be great. Tell us about the Indiana Capital Chronicle. I know you had some stuff you wanted to promote.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, you can come to our website at indianacapitalchronicle.com, or you can subscribe to our newsletter. It comes out 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And again, on Sunday is more of a best of.
Right.
So if you can't keep up with the daily emails, you can just wait and enjoy the Sunday. So just subscribe online. And
I love you guys are a nonprofit too, so you're not beholden to anybody but the news.
That's right.
All right, Niki Kelly from the Indiana Capital Chronicle. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Are you seeing cracks in mortar, moisture working through walls, facade or structural failure beginning to surface? Bramwell Mackay sets the standard for exterior and structural building solutions. Our 40-year master masons and industry experts address moisture intrusion, failing foundations, masonry deterioration, and more. From preserving historic landmarks to addressing modern building envelope issues, Bramwell Mackay delivers full-spectrum service with white-glove professionalism. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Your bathroom fan could be secretly costing you thousands of dollars in damages. Most people don't even know this until the damage is done. With over 18 years of bathroom remodeling experience, here are 3 signs your fan is failing you without spending a dime on inspections. Sign number 1 is if you have foggy mirrors after you shower. This shows that your fan isn't pulling out enough moisture, which creates the perfect environment for mold. If you have a properly functioning bathroom fan that is the right size for your space, you shouldn't see much fogginess on your bathroom mirror at all. Sign number 2 is if you have bubbling, cracking, or peeling paint in your bathroom. This means moisture is soaking into your walls, slowly breaking down drywall, and even causing the wood framing behind it to rot. Sign number 3 is if you have mold buildup on your fans, ceilings, or walls. This is terrible for your health, but also could wreck your bathroom, costing you a fortune. If you're noticing any of these signs, here's what you can do.
Call Vent Savvy today at 317-300-4434. That's 317-300-4434 and mention Rob for a free attic inspection.